Hello, it's Jay here again and welcome to another tutorial. In this lesson we're going to make a start on the attack block. But first things first, we need to create another variable. And I'm just going to put mine here, and it can be of type public float. And we're going to call this underscore FOV. And we're going to make it equal to 100F, and we'll close the line off. And we'll put it into the comments. So we'll say defines our enemy's field of view. Now I'm using a value of 100, and I suggest you start with 100 yourself for this value. However, I do realise that many of you will be using different models and maybe your scaling will be different, so you may have to adjust this number up or down to fit your project. So please don't be frightened of experimenting with this value until you find one that works with your project. And with that said, let's come all the way down to the attack block. And we can just let's come up to the run block, and we're going to copy this line where we say vector3 direction to move, and we'll copy that entire line and we'll then paste it in. But I'm actually going to change this naming convention here to underscore, and we're going to say player temp position, because that's all we're using this line for within the attack block, is to get the player's temporary position. And we'll come to the next line. Now the next thing we need to do is create a temporary float of angle. And this is going to be equal to vector3 dot angle, and we'll open and close brackets, we'll close the line off, and then we'll come inside the brackets. So this temporary float of angle, and in fact we'll put the little underscore in front here, it's going to be equal to a vector3, a point in world space. It's going to be of type angle this time, and that angle is going to be the player's temp position, comma, transform dot forward. And we'll put this line into the comments. So we'll say set temp float of angle, and in fact I'll put the little underscore in the comments so we know, to be equal to the player's, and I'll put the little underscore again, temp position centered on forward. And then we'll come here. So I hope you can understand these two lines. We're using this vector3 the same way as we did here within the run block, only this time we just want a reference to the player's temp position, i.e. the player the position's in world space at this particular moment when it switches to the attack block. And then we're creating a temporary float, and we're calling it underscore angle, and it's going to be equal to a vector3 angle, and that is the player's temp position, and the transform is forward, so centered on forward is the center of the angle. Now with that said, we can come back to the run block, and we'll still need to lock the Y position, so we can copy this line here, direction to move dot Y equals 0, and we'll paste that in there. And again, we can just copy this value here. And then we'll come to the transform rotation, and we'll copy this entire block, this line we broke down, and we'll paste that in there. And again we can copy the variable. and we'll just bring the comments back into some sort of alignment. So why do it this way? Basically, when the player enters the attack phase, now this happens just before we play the actual attack animation, which we'll do within the strike block. But what this allows the enemy to do is, basically, without this code, it would be extremely easy to avoid the enemy attacks. The player could just take one step to the left or to the right and avoid the attacks every time. It would make the game far too easy. So by entering this code here, it still allows the enemy some degree of movement as it's about to strike, as it's about to play its attack animation, to basically make it look as though the enemy is trying its best to adjust its position to strike the player. And this will create a much more natural sort of attack animation. So I think we'll leave it here for this lesson, and we'll pick this up in the next. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope to see you next time, and until then, bye for now.